Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. This right here, folks, this clip I'm about to show you guys in this video, is exactly what I mean by leftist bullies and the authoritarian tendencies of these leftist Karens. You know, these far left Karens are very particular and very specific about the positions that they occupy, and one place where they are overrepresented is the HR department. When you have this fetish for power and destroying people's lives, when you're angry and filled with misery and trying to get back at people, then the HR department is the perfect place for you. And most recently, there's this TikTok video going around of an unhinged leftoid Karen going on this huge rant, telling us the silent heart out loud. And well, while it's not the typical video that I make, it's something that I gotta show you, it's something we gotta talk about because it's actually personal. I have a personal experience with this type of stuff that I want to tell you guys. I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but I want to talk about the corruption and the infiltration of the HR department across the corporate world, my experience with it, and just how toxic and vindictive and vicious it is. And frankly, just going in on these toxic leftist bullies. We've got some stuff to get into, but of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so I don't think we need too much background or any context here. Just take a look at this TikTok video right over here.
Some rights and freedom that would tell you that, but since you seem to forget that, and you're all loud and proud with your big thoughts and your big ideas, and you wanna set up hot tubs in Ottawa. I'm a recruiter. It's a small industry, smaller than you'd think. Same with HR. So if you're looking for a job, or maybe trying to keep a job, maybe, just maybe, think about what you're putting on social media. Again, freedom fighters. I know you're not really big with stats and, facts aren't your thing, but what I can tell you, what is a fact, is that recruiters talk. And recruiters, like the majority of Canada, don't agree with you. Do you know what that means? Do you have any guesses? Any guesses what that means? What that means is that if you need a job, you might not get one. If you want to keep a job, you might not get to do that. And you know what else HR is good at? Documentation. You know what that means? You want to be an asshole. We document it. We give you a couple tries. Then what do? We terminate you. With cause. If we're so lucky. If not, we give you the minimum allowed by law. Either way, best of luck to you. Recruiters are watching, HR is watching, everywhere, and we hate you. We hate you so much. And you think we can't do anything, but we can. We have the power. Always remember that. Doesn't matter if there's a man at the top of your HR department. It's run by women, and it's run by angry women just like me. I'm so glad I got that off my chest. It's been eating me up inside. And honestly, my heart goes out to you guys. I mean, you have families to feed, right? You brought your kids to this big event. You're freedom fighters. You're standing up. Oh, they will be so proud. So proud of you. Yourself. Mwah. Love you.
This right here is who decides whether or not you even get a chance at getting a job in the corporate world. Seems absolutely fair and balanced, totally normal behavior, but this type of stuff actually dominates the HR department. Now, it may not be like that across the board, not everyone fits this exact stereotype, but it's generally within this political spectrum and just different levels of crazy. This is at the higher level, but in general, there is clear discrimination in the hiring process, in the recruiting process, and how internal situations are handled. And lefties are constantly telling us about white male privilege, this, that, and the other. Well, considering the new landscape of recruiting in the corporate world, I think probably the biggest disadvantage that you could have is being a straight conservative white male. And talk about crazy, her justification for discrimination is focused on people who participated in freedom rallies, or the Freedom Convoy, considering this video is from Canada. Oh, the horror. To these leftist bullies, having opinions that they disagree with means you should lose your job and be ostracized from society be forever. It's absurd. Meanwhile, people who are involved in riots and Antifa action, well, you might as well just skip the interview because you're hired. It's clear discrimination. It's clear bullying. These miserable, angry people who have put themselves in these positions of power that are not earned. I mean, these aren't people who are at the top of any field, people who show incredible leadership skills or anything like that. These are just people who specifically want to work in recruiting and HR so they can determine the fate of other people and other individuals in their attempt to craft the world in the corporate world in their vision. There's an element of narcissism and bullying in everything that we see from the woke left, and that's why the HR department is perfect for them. And like I told you guys, this stuff's personal for me. For those of you guys who've been following my channel for a long time, then you know that I used to work in, I guess you could call it the tech sector. I worked in a big studio as a 3D artist in visual effects. I worked on big Hollywood movies, and I've seen and I've known about this exact phenomenon for a long time. What she said there specifically is accurate. When she was talking about how it's a very small world and recruiters and HR all know each other, that is 100% accurate. In the corporate world, all of these recruiters and HR people, not only do they bounce around and go from studio or corporate office to corporate office, but they all talk to each other. And one thing someone told me very early on, when I was applying for different jobs, looking at what opportunities I had, well, actually it was my friend's girlfriend who actually worked as a recruiter, and she told me how they all collude together, and when you send your resume to another studio or another office, they're going to contact each other, they're going to talk about it, they're going to ask what your salary is, all of your information, they're going to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. They all talk to each other, they all know each other, and so this idea that they're all colluding together to discriminate against particular people based on race, identity, political viewpoints, religion, that's not a conspiracy theory, that is definitely happening. And you know, that's the thing, these people operate as if they're in a cult. They're bullies, they're authoritarians. They want to destroy people who think differently than them. The opposite doesn't exist. You don't see conservatives and people who are more in the middle in the political world wanting to deny jobs and opportunities from people and wanting to destroy people's livelihoods because they vote differently than them. But the opposite is true. Again, I have experience with this stuff because I worked in the movie industry. Not only is it part of the tech sector and it's all computers and coding and technical artist stuff, but a lot of my friends worked in that industry and worked in video games as well. And a lot of my friends happen to be conservative and to have very similar viewpoints to me. And every single person I know who's a conservative in the corporate tech world feels as though they're being discriminated against. I mean, there's constant virtue signaling and left-wing nonsense all over the Slack chat. It's an internal communications tool that's used. It's called Slack. Lefties can say whatever they want, whatever virtue signaling they want. They can push whatever political agenda they want. Conservatives can't say the smallest thing. In the corporate world, leftist ideology is not preferred. It is enforced. And it's very similar to the whole thing we saw with Disney and everything that went on over there, where conservative employees feel as though they cannot speak up about these issues because they face actually losing their jobs. Here's an example that happened to me. I think I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. Before I actually landed my artist job, I was working at an entry-level position. I got my foot in the door and I was working in this very small office. It was a more technical job. I was basically taking care of a massive server and I was writing little Python code to accomplish little tasks. It was a very simple job and it was a small department. We were maybe 3 of us or 4 of us in the office max at a time, or at least in that specific department. I worked with 2 straight up communists. Well, you know what I mean. Leftist communist revolutionary types, you know, the type of people who wear Che Guevara shirts. And at one point the conversation got political and we were talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez back then, who was pushing this massive campaign about the southern border camps being concentration camps. I merely said in this conversation that I think it's a gross exaggeration. It's not even close. I think at the time the Twitter account for the Auschwitz Concentration Memorial or some organization had essentially said that the comparison is very insulting to them, and I merely said that if you were a survivor from the 1940s in one of these camps, I think you would take insult to this idea that the southern border camps are concentration camps. The person I was speaking to, this communist coworker, literally broke down into tears and ran to the HR department. And it was this big thing. I got pulled into HR. I definitely stood my ground. In fact, I absolutely hammered both of them. Nothing ended up happening to me, but they wrote this thing on my file, and that followed me everywhere. In fact, when I received my promotion a couple months later, and trust me, my communist coworkers were absolutely furious that I was the one getting the promotion and not them. But anyways, the head of the department that I was moving into even cited that when he was bringing me in, he said that he was giving me a shot despite what other people were saying, because I had somehow received a negative reputation from the HR department for merely pointing out that the comparison between the southern border camps and the camps from 1940s Germany is an absurd comparison. In my opinion, that is facing political discrimination, and it only goes one way, because there's only one side that's gonna cry and go run to HR and make this big thing about such a benign statement or a basic adult political conversation, discussing and debating ideas with your coworkers. I mean, for Pete's sakes. I mean, could you imagine being like 25 years old, having someone disagree with your political opinions, your frankly garbage political opinions, to the point where you melt down, cry, and run to HR, trying to get your coworker fired, who then, by the way, a couple months later, because he deserves it, gets promoted instead of you? But this is the type of stuff that's happening constantly. It's not just me. The corporate world has become toxic. Leftist politics has infested every single element of company culture. You have all kinds of leftist activists garbage being shoved in your face all day long, and anybody with a conservative or differing opinion fears speaking out in this toxic work environment because they will be discriminated against based on their politics. It's horrible, and I can't tell you how good it feels to be financially independent, to be running my own YouTube business and even running my own businesses outside of YouTube. And I even go out of my way on LinkedIn. Yes, of course, I have a private LinkedIn account to on these liberals and their terrible ideas at every opportunity that I see. And man, does it feel good. I don't know, kind of a random video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe. I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.